Welcome to another episode of the Broker Capital podcast. Today we're very lucky to be joined by Marcus Vella, who is a marketer who specializes in helping mortgage brokers. So this will essentially be a masterclass in marketing for mortgage brokers. And Marcus's specialty is really content creation as well as paid ads across Meta. And we're lucky enough to be in his beautiful studio, so everything looks very professional. Marcus, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Simon.
Mate, I'm looking forward to getting stuck into this. It's something that I'm big on for myself, trying to get really high quality marketing material out there. And I know I have brokers talking to me all the time who say, I need to get out there, I need to get on social media, but I really don't know where to start. And often they're like, I hate social media. So, hopefully you can help make it, seem a little bit more simple and explain what they should be doing.
Hopefully.
So mate, this is very niche. You're a marketer just helping mortgage brokers.
Correct.
Sure, there's like 20,000 mortgage brokers. Maybe 10,000 of them are active enough to really be one of your clients. Why did you decide to focus on mortgage broking and how did you get into this space?
That's a good question. So the reason initially why I picked brokers, it was actually a complete accident. I went to a broker as a client about probably 3 years ago. I wanted to get a mortgage, obviously. And anyways, he offered me to come work for him part-time while I was at uni. So I said, yep, of course, I'll do that. And then after about a couple of months, I was training to be a broker actually. After a couple of months, he said to me, would you like to do some marketing? So I said, yep, sure. At that time when I was in uni, I was jumping at every opportunity possible. So I started doing that for about, I'm going to say 6 months, and then started to get some pretty good results. And then he had other brokers reaching out to him. So I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty interesting. There's actually demand for this sort of thing. And initially I was going to just start a marketing company for everyone, like what everyone does. So I wasn't going to have a particular niche. And then I realized, look, there's a lot of marketing companies that apply the same philosophy that they would to an ice cream parlor, a hairdresser, a nail salon, a builder, and they give that same sort of blueprint to a mortgage broker and think it's going to work. And then obviously the broker gets burnt and it ends up terribly, right? So I thought, well, obviously you can't apply that to a finance broker, because if you're buying some nails, it might be like $80. If you're buying a drink bottle, it might be $50, right? When you're getting a mortgage, it's the biggest investment of your life. It's potentially going to be $800,000, $1 million plus, right? So you have to take a complete different marketing approach. It has to be much more trust-based selling. Then I was like, you know what? There's no one really doing this for brokers at the time when I started it. Now there's a few. I thought I'm going to just focus on brokers. So that's how it happens.
Mate, I think that's really smart.
Yeah.
I mean, you see all the brokers, they're specializing in a niche. They're trying to find one client that they really understand well. They know they can help and they're going after it. And I mean, I guess you're doing the same thing with your approach.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep.
So what do you see as the best marketing tool or marketing approach for mortgage brokers?
I don't really have a tool, but I'd say one of the best things I do for brokers, and when I see other brokers doing, if they don't work with me, I tell them to do this. It's actually to have a Google Sheet. And every month you take your own content and other brokers' content and you find 3 things to improve on. And it sounds really like basic, really stupid, but think about it. If you're improving 3 things every single month, after about 6 months, your content starts to become amazing, right? So month 1, it can be as simple as maybe the lighting wasn't good. Maybe the audio wasn't great. Maybe the camera angle wasn't amazing. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to really perfect that and make sure it's amazing. Then the next one might be, okay, maybe my hooks were starting to get a bit weak. Let's work on those. The next month it might be, okay, the videos were too long or I didn't look professional enough. And then after about 6 months, you've gone through every single little category and you'll be shocked at how good the content actually looks. So you can do that with your own content. And then the other one is to take sort of bigger brokers' content or videos from a broker that went viral and say, okay, well, this is a great video. It obviously did very well. How can I make it even better by finding 3 things that could be good? And then we just keep doing that back and forth. So you put it in a Google Sheet, super straightforward, super simple. In terms of actual tools that people can use, I'd say probably at least an editing software, so something like CapCut or DaVinci, Premiere Pro, a basic iPhone, a little lavalier mic, and then you're sorted. You don't really need a massive setup to start. That's not until later down the track when you really want to go all in on content, have that really high production quality. But to start off, you definitely do not need that. I'd say an iPhone, a mic, and editing software is perfectly fine.
I like this approach because it invites people to just publish.
Exactly.
It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be perfect and it's always going to get better.
Exactly right.
So just put something out there and then you can look at it and you can work out how did it perform, how did it assess. Because I think about that with my own content. Like I'll put something out and I won't be totally sure of it. But if it's not great, not many people see it.
Yeah.
So you're kind of protected in that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So for mortgage brokers, what would you say is the go-to tech stack
Yep.
when it comes to running their marketing operation?
Yeah, okay, that's very good. Okay, so if we're looking at content, email marketing, and ads, that's 3 different categories. Here's the sort of tech stack that I would use. So I would say for your content, as I said, tech stack would just be your iPhone and editing software, a lavalier mic. The software I use CapCut personally. Premiere Pro is amazing, but I'd say CapCut over the past couple of years has gotten really, really good.
Yeah, well, I've spent a lot of time in Premiere Pro,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it is really good.
Yeah.
But for somebody like at my level of editing,
Exactly.
CapCut
Yeah,
is
exactly
just
right.
as good.
Unless for my YouTube videos, I don't use CapCut. I use Premiere. But for if you're using short form content, honestly, CapCut is fine. You don't need insane flashy edits. CapCut does the job.
Yeah.
For ads, I would say you want to use Go High Level for your landing pages. Be very careful doing that though, because if you don't know how to do some like CSS code or like make it look nice, it can start to look really blocky. So your landing pages look a bit ugly. But if you can work that out, that's amazing. Then
do you want to just step through what Go High Level is?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So Go High Level is basically a CRM software that also does landing pages as well. So it's pretty expensive. It's like $400 a month, but it covers a lot. And you can build all your landing pages on there. So that means when someone sees your ad and they click on the ad, it will send them to this mini website. And then it'll have some copy on there that can convince them to take a certain action. And then it'll have a button on there. They click that button and then it will take them to Calendly. So for your ads, I would recommend obviously Meta Ads Manager, Go High Level, Calendly, and that's pretty much all you need. Then for your email marketing, you could just use Klaviyo Active Campaign. So one of those two, and you're good. It doesn't matter what software you use. Email marketing is more about how good the actual email is. You don't have to stress about the software itself. They're all pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's been my experience too. I'm a big Klaviyo user.
Yeah.
But when you get a big list, Klaviyo gets very expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had another business with 20,000 email addresses and it was costing me $600 a month.
Yeah, wow.
And I was sending like 5 emails a month.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is very expensive. It was my biggest subscription.
Yeah.
So what was the other email software you recommended?
Active Campaign.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
As I said, they're all super similar. You can use anything, to be honest. MailChimp, they're all the same. Like, they might have slightly better deliverability, slightly better editing tools, but the core email marketing of it is the same.
Okay, let's talk about paid ads on Meta.
Yeah.
The approach seems to have changed. So now it seems to be that the algorithm or the AI is so good that it can find your audience, that it's now becoming more about just like pumping out content.
Exactly right.
And seeing what will hit. Can you explain what's going on there?
Yeah. This would be a long answer. So I'm going to say, as of the last 2 years, ads have become all about the brand and your content, right? Previously, you had to have some little nerd sitting in Ads Manager working out all the settings, right? I was the little nerd. You had to have someone sitting in working out all the settings, and it didn't work unless you had the right settings, right? Now it's gotten to the point where the targeting is incredible. Meta has got it down pat. It's amazing. So what it comes down to is, number one, how much volume you can test with your creative. If you're just testing 2 ads and they both do bad, well, you got no ads, right? If you're testing 60 ads and 50 of them are bad, you still got 10 good ads that are going to bring in leads, right? So it's all about volume there. It's also about your brand as well. So especially in the finance space, when someone sees your ad, they're not just going to buy straight away. They're not going to be like, yep, I'm going to get a mortgage with this guy. They're going to be so skeptical about it, right? Because this is the biggest thing they're going to buy in their life for most people. So they're going to click on your page. They're going to see if you have content. They're going to see if you're a real person. They're probably going to Google you. They're going to see if you have reviews. They're going to do a whole bunch of different audits before they actually go and do something. So if you're trying to run ads with just still images and no brand and nothing on your page, they're going to click on that profile after they see the ad. And if they say nothing, they're just going to bounce. You're just going to waste money. So I would say, to answer the question directly, lots of volume and actually having the brand in place before you run the ads, so that when they audit you, they actually can see that you're like a real person, you have proper business, you have clients. They can sort of see what you're like, and that's how it works.
That's a really good point. So if let's say a customer is going to audit you,
Yeah.
which they definitely do
100%.
because we do it when we're thinking about buying a service. You know, it's like, all right, well, let's check out their website, their social profiles, have they got new reviews?
Exactly.
You know, how do you think a broker should be set up so that if they're being audited, someone thinks, I want to go with this guy or girl?
I would say look as credible as possible. Try and look big, if that makes sense. So if you look like you're like a solo broker working out of your mum's basement, it might look a little bit hard. But if you can make the website look pretty nice, like it doesn't have to be an amazing website you spend thousands on. You can make your own website and it looks pretty good, right? So nice website, decent amount of Google reviews. The content is looking good. They can sort of click on the page and see what you're about. Maybe see what you're like, if that makes sense. So you just have images of you, they can't really see what you're like. But if they can hear your voice, see you speak, they get a tiny glimpse of what you actually like. So I would say, as long as you have the content good, the website's okay, and you come across nicely, I would say that's how they can audit you, right? That's what they're going to look at.
So be professional and look
Yes.
bigger than what you are.
Be professional, yeah, but I also say look appealing to your niche, because if you're targeting, for example, tradies or FIFO workers, right, they don't really care about if you're in a suit and tie, so you might want to come across a little bit differently, right? But if you're targeting high net worth investors in, I don't know, Double Bay in the middle of Sydney, okay, you probably want to wear a suit, a tie, look more professional like that. So I'd say yes, look professional, but it's more about looking appealing and relatable to your niche, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's say you've put out some great content out there and you've boosted it to a cold audience. Someone clicks on your ad. Where should this person go? And how do you think about retargeting?
Yep. So the question is, if you're running ads to get leads, where should they be sent to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's lots of different funnels you can have. You can have webinar funnels. You can have sell paid tickets to a live event and they come and they watch you. You can have booking funnels, which is my favorite one. So I'd say if you're just starting with paid ads, definitely the booking funnel is the best. So what that means is they'll see the ad. If they click on the ad, it will send them to a landing page. That landing page will then have a headline, a bunch of different points of why they should work with you, what the offer is, all that sort of stuff. I've made whole videos on exactly what should be on it. And then they have a couple buttons on there that can say like book a meeting or secure my session or whatever it might be. They click on that. It will send them to the Calendly page or your whatever calendar software you use. They answer a few questions. So I always like to make sure they answer questions first. If they can just book in a time, you don't know if they're going to be good or bad, right? So you want to ask them, for example, what they earn, how much they want to borrow, their living status, if they have any other properties, any dependents, stuff like that, basic questions. If they answer that, they're obviously very serious about getting a mortgage, right? If they're going to give that information to you, they're a pretty hot lead. So once they answer all those, they pick their time, they send them to a congratulations page, and that congratulations page has the pixels and all the tracking on it, so you can actually register them as a lead. Send it back to Facebook. Facebook will say, okay, a 28-year-old nurse just converted from Sydney. Let's go and find a bunch of other 28-year-old nurses from Sydney that have shown interest in property in the last 6 months. That's as simple as, on a super basic level, that's how the ads work. Yeah.
Cool.
That's how you should set up your ads, essentially.
Okay. And if somebody works with you,
Yeah.
do you take care of that whole process?
Oh, of course. Yeah. So we set up the whole thing for them. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so let's imagine a typical broker comes to you. Let's say they're 2 to 5 years in business, couple of employees. They're ready to grow and go to the next level. By the way, this is also the sort of brokers that I want to work with. And they're going to invest in marketing. What is what is their business? What does their marketing currently look like? If they're doing anything, and what are some of the first moves that you do to try and get this thing cranking?
So when they come to me, I'd say a lot of brokers are at this level. If that's outside of their content, they basically just have no marketing. So they might have like a social media page that's been they schedule still posts once a month. They get like 1 like. That's a very, very common. And that's okay. That was the sort of thing to do like 5 years ago, but they haven't really adapted.
RBA announcement
Exactly,
or some sort of like generic.
That's what it mostly looks like. They might have a decent website. It looks good. So I say to them, look, that's great. Obviously, you can see yourself, it's not going to get you leads, right? It's not going to get pushed out to anyone. The first step to take is obviously starting the content, right? I would say never, ever, ever just go straight into ads. And I always say that to my people that come to me. I say, don't just go to ads straight away because you're going to get burnt, right? No matter if you get the best ad guy in the world, he can't make you print leads if you have no branding behind you. So I always say, save your money. I don't know, just either put it towards more employees or save it for later. So when you do run the ads, you have a big bank to sort of spend. The first thing you want to start with is the content and getting your face out there as fast as possible, right? Because if you run ads from a random person, they're like, well, who's this guy? Why would I spend $900,000 with this guy and give him all of my personal finances? They have no idea. But if they've seen your face for the last 6 months and all your different pieces of content, they're like, oh yeah, that's Simon. I've seen him before. He's done really good content. Then when they see your ad, they're like, yeah, that's Simon. You know what? I'll speak to him. I've seen his content's pretty good. This offer that he's running as an ad is amazing. I want to definitely take advantage of that. They'll book in their time, right? So to answer the question, the first thing they need to do is get the content going for about, I'd say it's slow, about 4 to 6 months, to be honest. And then you can look at running in the ads once you've actually built the brand out. Got a few thousand followers, then you can sort of run it. So yeah.
Building trust is a big part of this.
Exactly. The broking world is all about trust-based selling or trust-based marketing. I've always said that.
And so how many times do you think people need to see the content? And you sort of mentioned 4 to 6 months. Do you think that's how long it generally
Yeah, well, so someone on social media, this is a fact as well from McKinsey. someone needs to see your face 13 times to recognize you on social media. And that's not to like you or to trust you or anything like that. That's just to recognize, yep, this is Simon, I've seen him before. It also has to be in under a 30-day period. So if they see you 13 times over 2 years, they're going to forget every time they see you, right? They might see you like in January, like one little reel. If they go to March, like, they won't remember you at all. But if they see you on Monday night and then Tuesday night and then Wednesday night, they're like, oh, I've seen this guy so many times. So obviously there's I'm not going to say it here, but there's ways you can do that with your ads. So not boosting posts, they're actually like running your ads properly. You can make people like constantly pop up with your paid content. So you want to do that as fast as possible. And you just want to run that for 6 months. So for 6 months, if they've seen like 70 pieces of content now, because you've paid for them to actually see the content, and it doesn't even look like an ad when you run it. So the biggest thing you want with your content ads is to make them not look like ads. Because if they have this, like when you run ads for leads, for example, it'll pop up with like get your offer or learn more. You want to have nothing pop up. It looks like an organic piece of content. So if they see that 70 times in the space of 3 months, they've seen literally, I don't know, probably 3 hours of content from you. So now they know exactly who you are. If the content's good, they will like you. You can retarget them on your ads. So yeah. What was the question? I didn't even answer the question.
It's about trust, I think.
There you go. So if they've seen 3 hours of your content, they're probably going to start building a decent level of rapport and trust with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a dichotomy happening where you've got people with really short attention spans who are used to seeing these really flashy, short little reels. And then you've got podcasters like Joe Rogan who sit down and chat for 3 hours. Should brokers do both work? Is there one that works better than the other? What's actually going on?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. They definitely both work. I would say you definitely want to build the short form audience first before you go to the long form. If you just start on long form, you're going to struggle because long form obviously has a lot shorter reach. So if someone doesn't know who you are, why would they invest 10 minutes of their time or an hour of their time to watch you, right? You watch Joe Rogan because you've known exactly who he is. He might interview a cool person. You're like, you know what? I'm going to invest 2 hours of my time to watch him interview a UFC fighter that I really like. Because you like them, right? But if Joe Rogan was a nobody and he interviewed another nobody, you'd be like, well, why am I going to give 2 hours of my time to watch this person? So it's much easier to build the audience first on short form, first of all. Get your 10,000 followers, whatever it might be. And then you can have people that actually genuinely like your stuff. And you can say, look, guys, if you like my stuff, you can go across to my YouTube, for example, and I have like a 40-minute video on there. So now you have that little boost from the short form over to the long form. So I would say start with the short form first because obviously people's attention spans are very short. Start over there, build the audience, and then go into the long form because the long form is the end goal. If you can have a proper YouTube channel that has like really, really good quality content on there and you can get even 10,000 views a month on that YouTube channel in the finance space, you will have no problem with leads ever. But it is so much harder said, so much easier said than done to do that. It is incredibly hard to build a YouTube channel organically without having a short form audience as well.
Totally agree. And I think you can even see it with sort of big time influencers that they will absolutely crank the short form stuff and they'll be putting out really quick, often funny or entertaining or educational info. And then they start to pop up on the podcast tour.
Exactly the same.
And it's like, oh my God, that really funny guy I follow on Instagram is now doing long form. And I'm like, okay, I've got to watch this.
Yeah, it's the same with streamers as well, right? Streamers, they get famous off the clips. Once people like the clips, they go onto their stream and actually watch the stream, right?
Yeah.
If you just try and grow a stream, like if you're a streamer, I don't know how to swear at this, but if you're a streamer and you're trying to grow, right, why would you just limit yourself from only posting on that stream? No one's going to watch you. Yeah. They want to see the short form, get a little trailer of what you like, and then they'll go into it. It's the same with brokers. If you're just trying to grow long form or these long podcasts without having the short form audience first, you're hurting yourself. Yeah.
On that topic of putting out the highlight clips, I've recently started using this software product called Opus Clip.
Yep.
And like basically you just take the URL of a YouTube video that could be like us having a conversation, put into Opus Clip, and it creates 20 highlight clips of us chatting with captions. And then from there, you can hit publish and it publishes it onto all your social media channels. This saves so much time. But at the same time, I'm like, well, that means that social media is just going to get flooded with all these clips, with all this sort of, I mean, how do you think about it?
I used to use Opus about 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. Geez, I'm onto it.
And it was really good. It was very good for convenience. But if you want to actually make people like, if you want to have really customized stuff, it wasn't great, right? Because you want to have I like to pick my own clips, right? I like to have my own style of editing. So that's why I don't use it. To answer the question, if you flood the market with 20 pieces of content, right, but all of them are edited sort of averagely or they don't look good and no one watches them, it's going to do nothing, right? Because it's 20 pieces of content that no one's watching. Whereas if you sort of put 3 pieces of content out that are really, really good and someone actually watches it, that's how you sort of start to grow. So you put 20 pieces of content out, no one watches it, the algorithm sees, okay, this guy posted 20 videos, no one liked them, just stop pushing his videos out. Whereas if you have 3 pieces of content that people genuinely like, they learned something from it, it was amazing, they liked all that sort of stuff, the algorithm says, okay, well, people are watching this video, let's push it out even further. So that's why I'm always about sort of quality over quantity. But in that sort of aspect, if you're going to use Opus to do that and it saves so much time, sometimes it's worth it. Because even if 20 of those clips, if 4 of them do really well, that's an absolute win. Like you just saved so much time and you got 4 winning clips. So I would definitely recommend it if you're really sort of time poor and you don't have time to sit there and edit, or you don't have a team that edits for you. Definitely use it, especially for podcasts and long form content. But I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't just rely on it, put it that way. And I know that you don't. You make your own short form as well, which is, I think that's really smart.
Exactly. I'm trying to do both, and I might have one short form that's like a brand new idea that I've recorded like just in my office per week, and then I'll have maybe 5 from Opus Clip. So yeah. I mean, like you hear Alex Hormozy talking about how much content he puts out.
Yeah, the GOAT.
Yeah. And I don't know what the number is, but I think it's like in the hundreds of thousands or so. It's a massive number per month that he puts out.
Through clipping.
Yeah.
Look, I think this is really interesting. I want to try it with a broker in the next year. I think it could be really cool, the whole clipping sort of thing. Look, it's very expensive to do though. Like it costs tens of thousands of dollars a month, right? Like it is very expensive. And I think there's space for maybe, it wouldn't be a lot. Like you couldn't have every broker doing this, but I think there's space for about 3 to 4 brokers in Australia to do it. I think it would work really well. I haven't tried it yet though, but I think it could work really well. I wouldn't really have a full answer on it. I haven't done it for a broker before.
Okay, I've heard you talk about this before. If we're looking at the future of the broking market, I mean, say 5 years into the future, what do you think brokers are going to be doing to promote themselves? How many sort of big dog superstars are there going to be? What do you see the space looking like?
Yeah, I think in 5 years, if you haven't started social media now, you're going to be like completely drowned out. Because there's brokers starting social media every day now. Like I go on my feed and I've obviously tailored it so I always see brokers stuff. I see every broker's piece of content.
Same as me.
So I see people that pop up every single day basically. Like I'm like, oh, I've never seen this guy before, and he started posting like a week ago. That's cool. So there's so many brokers starting, right? I think the ones that are starting now are really, really clever because it might be slow now, but if they keep doing it for 5 years, they'll be good to go, right? I think to answer the question, what will broker marketing look like in 5 years? I think in 5 years, if you try to start marketing, this is unfortunate for me because I run a marketing company, but in 5 years, if you start to do your marketing, you're going to have a big problem because it's going to be so saturated and no one's going to want to look at the guy that's on like 20 views or just starting out. They've already got their audience, right? The reason I say that is because there's 11.8 million people in Australia that are interested in finance and property on Meta platforms. So if there's 600 brokers making content, right, that's probably going to cap out at about that. You can't have 6,000 brokers making content and everyone following them. Reason being is because no one's going to follow 40 brokers. They're probably going to follow 5 brokers at the absolute max, right? So there's only enough space for like 600 brokers to really sort of have their spot in the market because as I said, no one is following 40 brokers. At the absolute max, your average mum and dad or your tradie or the doctor, they're going to follow maximum 5 brokers. So there's only space for a few to get above that 10,000 follower mark. And I think the ones that, as I said, they're starting now, they're probably going to be fine. I'd say if you start in like 5 years time, it's possible. It's going to be possible, of course, right? If you have good content, it'll be possible, but it'll be much, much harder. Yeah. So that's what I think it will look like. The broking world will be full of social media, sort of people that are famous on social media.
Yeah.
That's how it'll work.
Look, I tend to agree with you. I think, if you have a look at musicians, for example, there's a handful of musicians that everybody in the world knows. And then there's sort of a bigger group of like 100 that make an absolute killing. But then there's this long tail of musicians who nobody knows.
Yeah.
They play in pubs. They don't really make any money.
Yeah, exactly.
I think social media makes it a little bit more fair in a way. Like there's all sorts of niches and you can discover more people. But that dynamic of somewhat winner takes all, I think is always going to be there.
I think you're already seeing the transition as well of how important content is. If you look at the MPA Top 100, like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, right? I'd say it was very rare for people to be doing content. Like there was maybe 3 to 4 of them doing content. If you look at it now in 2026, all of them, well not all of them, but a very large majority are starting to do their own content. At least they're sort of touching into the world of content, right? So I think if you look 5 years into the future, it's going to keep going more and more like that. Every single year there's more starting. And I think if you want to get into that MPA top 100 or you want to be a top broker, the content is so, so important nowadays. And it's slowly transitioning over. Like 2 years ago when I first actually like started working with different clients that wasn't my main employed broker, like it was really weird to make content as a broker. Like there was so many brokers that are like, oh, should I make content? I don't know. And now those same brokers have started doing content and they're doing really well, right? So I think that it's slowly becoming more and more normalized to be making content as a broker.
Totally agree. Some of the content I'm really enjoying at the moment is when the brokers, or they could be random salespeople, film themselves on sales calls.
Yeah.
And like, you know, that Giuliano Massarelli guy?
Yeah.
And that guy's wild. He might not be the best example, but there are
Yeah.
some who are doing it in a more acceptable way.
Yeah.
And like there's an asset finance guy, I've forgotten his name, but he's Aussie.
Yeah.
And it's like him solving problems with clients. He's got the client on the phone on loudspeaker. He must get their permission to post it afterwards.
Yeah.
But then he creates a reel, and he's basically showing how he can solve problems for people in real time.
Yeah.
And you know, you're watching that thinking, oh, I should call that guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, trends will always sort of come and go.
Exactly right. Yeah.
But yeah, like video and content is pretty hot at the moment.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, let's say a broker has fantastic marketing and they've got a lot of leads coming in. And let's say in a quarter, they do 100 deals. Where do you think, what sort of mix, if we were to do a pie chart, where do you think these loan settlements or these clients should come from, you know, across marketing, referrals?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I would say definitely don't rely on one area. That's like the biggest thing I have to say. Because if that one area breaks or something goes wrong, you're absolutely screwed, right? So try and diversify it as much as possible. I'd say, look, again, weird coming from me, I'm a marketing guy. Definitely referrals is probably the best way to actually get the deal. At the end of the day, that is the strongest source of referrals. Strongest source of deals, right? If someone that you know has told another person to come and speak to you and they've given you a good referral in person, that's going to be amazing, right? But obviously that caps out pretty fast. So that's when you want to start getting your content and your ads involved, because if you build a big enough brand, people feel like they already know you, right? They like that. I have clients that have 30,000 plus followers. People reach out to them like they already know the person. You know what I mean? They can build some sort of connection, like, oh, I know this guy. So definitely that's where it goes. To answer the question directly, I would say 20% should come from content, 20% should come from client referrals, 30% from paid ads, and 30% from professional partnerships. The reason why, obviously it's going to be different for everyone, right? People are probably going to have a lot in referrals. The reason why I like to spread it out so much is because if one of those things breaks, you still have a lot of business still to write in other different areas, right? So let's say, unfortunately, your referral partner, a professional referral partner, I don't know, someone else speaks to him and he decides to leave you, or his business goes down or something like that happens, you still have paid ads, content, and client referrals to rely on, right? Let's say, unfortunately, your ad account gets banned, or you still have all of the three aspects, right? So I would say try and spread it as much as possible. That's like the end goal that I would like to aim for. And obviously the most coming from professional referrals and paid ads, because you can scale it up and down. So, and I don't like to rely too heavily on paid ads as well. Again, sounds really weird that I'd say that, but I think if you just rely on paid ads, it's a very dangerous game, because one ad account ban or one sort of thing goes wrong and you are screwed.
Also, I think if nearly all your business was coming through paid ads and then
Yeah.
you weren't getting any of your existing clients referring their friends and family back to you,
Yeah.
I think that would be a bit of a worry.
Exactly
You'd be
right,
like,
yeah.
boy, am I
Yeah.
even delivering a good service?
Yeah, that's what I say to clients is like, although I want them to do very well on paid ads, I'm also trying to help them grow their business in general. I say to them, look, don't rely heavily on this. But look, paid ads is also a good way to get people in the door, right? So I say to people all the time, if you can get clients to do an ecosystem, that's great. Because if you get, for example, 20 leads a month from, or 20 settlements a month from your paid ads, those 20 people, they have sisters, brothers, cousins, people at work that are eventually going to refer you, right? So if you can bring those people into your ecosystem, then they can refer you as well. It's like a big spider that just keeps growing. So that's what I'd say as well. It's sort of each of them indirectly help each other.
Totally.
Yeah.
Some of the brokers who are doing really well, who I follow on social media, they seem to be posting, well, they are posting every single day, and it's generally fresh content, which makes me think that they're creating content every week at a minimum, but often a few times a week. What sort of time allocation do you think that brokers who are serious about marketing should be devoting to marketing, which includes things like learning the platforms, recording content, working with someone like yourself?
Yeah.
What sort of percentage of their time do you think should be focused on that?
I think, unfortunately for them, a lot of time. I would say if you're working with a team, you've hired an employee, you've hired a marketing agency, whatever it might be. obviously that's going to save you so much time because they're going to do basically all the work for you. So all you have to really do is just worry about filming the videos, right? So that's going to be the easiest way to save the time. But if you're someone that likes to sort of do your own work, then I would say probably want to batch it out, maybe 2 days a month. You can sit down. So day one could be really planning out the content, making it all look perfect. And then day two can be actually going and filming it yourself. So I'd say, look, if you can knock out 2 days a month where you sort of go all in on the marketing, just batch it in one go, it's so much easier because the worst thing you can do is wake up every day and say, I'm going to post one piece of content today. Because it's going to take out time of your day. There's no process to it, right? Because every day you have to open up the phone, shoot the video, export one video at a time, blah, blah, blah. Whereas if you film all in one go, you can shoot all 30 videos, do all 30 exports over, all 30 edits, and it's like one big batch. So it's so much faster. And in terms of frequency, I'd say you don't need to post every single day if you can't comfortably afford to do it for your business, right? Like if you're trying to force 30 posts out a day and they all just come out terribly, you're much better off doing like every second day.
Okay.
So yeah. But of course, if you can actually post every day and it's good quality content because your team helps you out, by far, like obviously do that.
Yeah. Okay. I think a big part of it as well is strategy.
Yes.
And that's where working with an agency gives you a massive advantage because it's almost like you check in and they've got their finger on the pulse of what's happening in the industry. And then you sort of just accelerate the strategic side of it. It's like how are things performing? What should I be focusing on? Rather than having to dive into all the platforms, get out all your Google Sheets and work and sort of track everything. If you've got someone you can talk to and get straight into the strategy, it helps a lot.
There's some people, I have a client, for example, that's on 30,000 plus followers, right? And he does a lot of it himself because he wants to do it himself. So he just hires me for consulting, say like, what do you think about this? Can you give me ideas here? And I'll obviously help him. But he actually likes doing it himself. So it's completely different for everyone. Like I wouldn't say follow this one path and this is the only right path. I would say honestly, whatever works for you, that is the best way to go about it. If you like making the content yourself, but you don't like filming it, or you don't like editing it, outsource it. If you like editing it, which is probably people don't like doing that, but if you do for some reason, if you like editing but you hate scripting, then outsource that, right? So I find that a lot of brokers want to outsource the whole thing once they get to a certain stage where they don't have enough time, which is why I'm in business. But yeah, I would say whatever works best for you, do that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
What's kind of works for me is scheduling stuff out like you're suggesting maybe for a month in advance.
Yeah.
But then also giving myself the freedom that if I have an idea or I see something pop up, I can proactively create stuff and then sort of additionally put that into the mix.
Yes.
Because like some of the, I try pretty hard on LinkedIn and some of the posts that I've done that have been absolute bangers, like I've thought of them and then just typed it up or made a video or done an image or something like that and released it, 5 minutes later, and they have really hit just because it's like that special sauce where it's like right now people are thinking about this in the moment. It's going to hit.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely one of the plus sides of posting daily.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is what's the upside, what's the downsides? There's definitely more downsides to posting every day, but one of the mega upsides is exactly that. Like I know what you're talking about. I know that feeling when you make it in the moment. I've done that before. I'm not saying I don't do that, but I'd say if you're really trying to be consistent, it's hard to do that every single day.
You could never be consistent if you're just thinking of something brand new every day. Like I don't think anyone's got that sort of discipline all the time to be able to do that.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So we talked about time allocation. When it comes to money, dollars, what sort of percentage of revenue do you think brokers specifically, should be reinvesting into their business via marketing?
Look, I would say there's not a fixed answer. It depends on where you're at on the scale. So and how fast you're trying to grow, where you're trying to go, all that sort of stuff. So I always bridge it into different sort of sections. So I'd say 5 to 10% is that's your maintenance range. Like if you're spending 5 to 10% of your upfront commission, you probably won't grow super fast, but you know what? You'll still be out there. You'll still do okay. I'd say 10 to 20% is when you're going to start seeing some growth. You'll start growing pretty nicely, but it won't be amazing, right? It'll be pretty good. You probably afford to run quite a bit of ads. You'll do well. I'd say 20 to 30% is when you start to that's when you really start to get into the world of actually making money from marketing. So once you get to that level when you can actually, okay, I'm going to run really good content. I'm going to push the content out with ads, and I'm going to run lead-based ads, and I'm going to do email marketing. You sort of have that budget to do that now, and you can start to really sort of see your return after a couple of months. And then 30 plus is if you're spending more than 30% of your upfront commissions, that's when you're going to make a lot of money from marketing. If you can comfortably, let's say you're making, I don't know, 100 grand a month in upfront commissions, you spend 30 of that across ads, agency fees, content, all different things, that's when you'll be like, wow, like you can do a lot with $30,000 in ad spend a month, like a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. The more I think about how to grow a broking business,
Yeah.
the more I realize that basically if it's a good business, that means that you can put time and money in
Yep.
and it will multiply and you'll get more
Exactly
out.
right. Yep.
And that's exactly what we're talking about now. Because I think some people might be listening and thinking, what, 30% of my revenue or 30% of my upfronts back
Yeah.
into marketing? That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but this is a machine
Exactly.
that could be really growing. You know, it's producing upfronts, it's producing trail, and it's multiplying.
And just to be clear as well, I'm not saying
Yeah.
you have to spend 30 grand a month, right? Like I have a lot of clients that maybe they spend, I don't know, only 5K a month on their ads, right? You'll still get a great return from that.
I know for a fact you can get a lot from $5,000 because
Yeah.
$5,000 might, you know, a third or half of it goes to the agency and the rest goes into spend. You can really make an impact
Exactly.
with that. Like that's a decent investment.
Yeah. And in five grand of pure spend, I would say you probably want 1.5 to 2K of that going towards the actual content ads. So like pushing your content out even further, and the rest of it going to the actual like lead based ads and testing. That's what I would do.
So the difference between that, can you just kind of
Yeah.
flesh
So
that out a little bit?
out of the 5K, 1.5K to 2K of it should be towards your branding based ads. So that's actually getting people familiar with who you are. So
Gotcha.
if you can reach, you could probably reach about, I don't know, 300,000 people with that amount every month. And then you go and retarget those people with your lead based ads. So the content ads are obviously just your content that you run like every day on your organic page. And then the lead based ads are obviously saying, well, you've seen my content, whatever it might be. We've got an offer here. We're going to call whatever. Obviously, you'd have a much better script than that, but that's what I would say is how you split your ad spend up, sort of 20% over there, sort of 70% towards your lead-based ads and 10% towards testing what's actually going to work for the next month.
I think it's really important to talk about these percentages and to talk about, you know, hard dollars because a mortgage broking business is so predictable.
Yeah.
And, you know, not only are you receiving upfront and trail, you're also growing the value of your business.
Exactly.
So like just as an example, if you're increasing your trail by, you're pumping money into marketing, you're doing deals and you're increasing your trail by $1,000 a month, well, that's $12,000 a year. And then on a 4 times multiple, which a lot of books are selling for, that's 48 grand.
48,000, yeah.
So it's like, how much did you spend to get a $48,000 return on your investment every month? You know, then you start to think, okay, wow, this is really paying off.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the beauty of being in mortgage broking, that the numbers are so measurable and so predictable. So let's say I'm a broker and I want to start cracking into content creation.
Yep.
Because I think that's definitely the first step. And once you get good content, then I think you can start worrying about how you actually push it out to people.
Correct, yeah.
So what equipment do I need to buy and what sort of setup do I need if I'm kind of, you know, just stepping into making content?
Okay. This is like for a day one broker, like an early on broker?
Yeah, it could be any broker because people who are, some brokers are like 10 years in and they're just starting.
So just starting content.
Just starting content. And also to add on to that question,
Yep.
do they need to jump straight into video or are there other sort of mediums they should be looking at too?
So the two answers to that question is yes, number one, they need to be doing video. So I think image sort of content is not really going to get pushed anywhere. So Instagram really push image content to a new audience. It'll mainly push it to your people that already follow you, which means that obviously if you don't have lots of followers, you're never going to grow because you can't push it out further. Okay. It's also less engaging, right? Like who wants to sit there and read an essay? You want to watch a video, you can watch it in 2x speed as well to get through it faster, stuff like that. In terms of equipment, if you're just starting out, as I said, an iPhone and a small little like Rode mic or a DJI mic is completely fine. That is amazing. Like you don't need to go out and drop $20,000 on a camera, $10,000 on lighting and $5,000 on audio. You can 100% start with just a phone and a small mic. And then if you get about, 4 months in, 5 months in, you're like, you know what, I want to add a bit of flair to the content. That's when you can go out and actually buy the camera, the lights, all that sort of stuff. Another thing you can get at the start if you really want to is some basic lighting as well. We have lights here. That's not too expensive. You can probably get a really good quality lighting setup for about $1,000. So with those 3 things, it's pretty good.
Yeah, nice. What are your thoughts on ring lights? This is a bit of a question for myself.
Lights.
You know when you can see the ring in someone's glasses?
Yeah. So ring lights, okay. A little tip if you have a ring light, you always want it to be 45 degrees from your face. So if you have it dead straight like in front of you, you're going to get these little whites iris, like things in your iris, and it looks a little bit strange.
Yeah.
So if you have it to the side of you, it actually adds a little bit of shadow on the right side of your face, and it has the nice light on the left side of your face, and then it gets rid of that thing in your eyeballs. So that's what you can do there. I would normally not use a ring light just because they're not great long term. But if you're doing it as a beginner, they're fine. But eventually you want to get a proper like studio light with a softbox on it so you can change how harsh the lighting is on you. With a ring light, there's nothing blocking it. Whereas if you get a softbox, you can put honeycomb grids over it and it sort of reduces the harshness. But yeah, that's what I'd say about ring lights. Don't put them front on. Have them 45 degrees of you.
I think that's good advice.
Yeah.
How well scripted do you think video content has to be?
I think that comes down directly to how confident the broker is on camera. So there's something that I always speak about, my clients will know, camera charisma. If you have camera charisma, you need to do less scripting, right? So if you jump on camera and it just feels natural for you and you can just speak,
yeah,
I would say you don't really need to follow a script too hard. So for me personally, I'm terrible on camera, right? I might seem like in my YouTube videos like I know what I'm doing. I follow a script. I can't sit there and just randomly waffle for 20 minutes straight because I start to go on side tangents.
Right.
So if you know a lot about a certain subject, you'll start to waffle on certain side tangents. So a broker, if the video is about, I don't know, guarantor loans, they'll go, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then you look back and you're like, I just filmed a 5-minute video. That is not going to do well. It needs to be like, I don't know, a minute 10, a minute 20. So they go on a bunch of random little side waffle things. So yeah, I would say in terms of scripting, if you really aren't confident on camera and you can't speak properly, definitely follow a script with a little teleprompter. Or if you find yourself waffling a bunch of random things, definitely use a teleprompter and a script. But if you can jump on camera, and it's pretty rare, I'd say out of the people I work with, 1 in 10 have this.
Okay.
If you can jump on camera and just you speak really well without having to side waffle, definitely do that. It's also much faster as well. But yeah, I normally provide scripts for most people. That's the easiest way to start. It makes it super easy as well. Yeah.
Interesting, because I struggle with scripts.
Yeah.
Because I like people can tell that I'm reading a script.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't sound natural. You
Yeah.
start to kind of like, you're trying to make it natural, but it's so forced.
That can happen. If you use a teleprompter, that goes away straight away.
Okay.
Because
right.
the teleprompter sits right in front of the camera. So it looks like you're looking straight into the camera lens.
Yeah, okay.
So I can show you after. The teleprompter works really well. But yeah, I know what you're saying. If you follow a script, like look to the left of you and then read the script out, you can tell straight away someone's trying to memorize a script. Whereas if you have the teleprompter in front of you, you're not trying to memorize it. You're just reading it.
Yeah, I was listening to one of my sort of favorite podcasts during the week, My First Million, and Sam Parr's Sam Parr's one of the hosts who I really like.
Yeah.
And he was doing like a 20-minute monologue.
Yeah.
And I was on a walk, and it occurred to me halfway through, I was like, how has he not said or once this whole way through? And I started watching him on Spotify.
Yeah.
And I can see that he is reading a script.
Yeah.
So he's sat down, he's actually scripted something for 20 minutes. And I suppose that's just kind of what it takes if you want to create.
It's efficient as well when you're filming.
Yeah.
The worst thing that can happen is when you're sitting on camera and you're trying to memorize something, you can sit there for like 3 hours. The reason I actually found that teleprompters as well is because I used to do client shoots and we used to have a paper and they would read them. This is when I first started a while ago.
Yeah.
And I was sitting at client shoots for like 5 hours and I'm like, this is not going to work when I scale. So I'm like, let me try teleprompter out. Used it for the first shoot. They did it in like 20 minutes and I was like, well, this is amazing.
Have you got a teleprompter app you recommend or?
Not really. Like they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
So I use, for example, we use a newer teleprompter and it comes with an app and you literally just get your Word document, your Google Doc, whatever it might be. You airdrop it to the app and then bang, it goes straight up and it uploads.
Yeah,
Super cheap as well. You can get them for like $200, $300, which sounds like a lot, but the amount of time it's going to save you is ridiculous. Yeah.
Wait, $200, is that like a never-ending subscription or something?
No, it's teleprompter's a physical thing.
Oh, really?
It's a physical box that comes on it and you just plug your phone into it. Yeah. People don't know that. Yeah, it's actually a good point. When I say that, people are like, oh, you have a teleprompter app? And I'm like, no, it's like a physical box. It'll come in a big box and you put your camera on top of it and then the lens is behind where the words pop up and then, you just read it out.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it's a one-time purchase. It costs nothing after. So like the one that I bought like a year ago, haven't paid a single cent for it since. There's no subscription or anything.
Yeah, wow.
You just buy them once.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could really be anywhere. Like you could take that
Exactly.
outside and if the lighting's good, you could just go for it.
Exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. On lighting, do you have any rules of thumb that people can use to try and get a feel for,
Yeah.
I think when I do it, I'm like, I don't want to look terrible. I need to look half decent, like I've put in some effort, and I don't want glare in the glasses.
Yep.
How do you think about it?
There's lots of different things. Yeah. The first thing I would say is your key light, which is your main light. That's going to be like your main source of light. As I said before, always needs to be 45 degrees to the left or right of you and 45 degrees above you. So it looks like it's almost like the sun, right? You also want your Kelvin level, which is like the harshness of the light. So you can have really, really warm, which is like, it almost looks orange. And you can have really, really white, which is like LED, right? You want it to match the Kelvin level of the sun, which is 5,500. That's never going to change that number, right? So always have your Kelvin level of your light on 5,500. Straight away, it makes your lighting look way, 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 way better. Yep. So that's the first thing. That's like a little tip that can instantly change the lighting. The second thing is to make sure your exposure isn't absolutely destroyed. You want your exposure to look pretty normal. So if you go on your iPhone, you want it to obviously not be super, super dark exposure because you'll look really weird. And then the third thing is if you can have a light behind you that's maybe like a meter back, meter and a half back, it adds lots of depth to the film and it looks really, really nice. Of course, this only matters if you really want to go all in. You don't have to do that if you're just starting out. But if you want to have a proper studio, it's one light behind you, one light like sort of to the right or left of you, and then one light maybe like 2 meters away on the other side. So you don't get a full dark shadow on the other side of your face.
Yeah. I think what you were talking about at the start where like you make content and then you pick out 2 or 3 things
Exactly.
you can improve.
Yeah.
That's probably an easy way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like I think in my office, I've found somewhere where the light is a lot better.
Yeah.
And it's not me sitting at my desk. I have to sort of move around like 90 degrees. And it makes a big difference. So now I'm like, when I go to film, I'm like, I'm going to use that same spot.
And just touching on that, if you're trying to build a home studio, you should always do it where there's no windows. And the reason that is because if you're filming it in an office where there's windows everywhere, let's say you're trying to film a video at 10 in the morning, the next day it might be, I don't know, 6 o'clock at night and it's really, really dark. So your lighting has to change internally, right? Because the natural light affects what's going to happen. If the sun's shining into the room's going to be really bright. If it's nighttime, it's going to be really dark. If it's 4 in the afternoon and it's a really rainy day and it's really dark, it's going to look completely different, right? So you have to go in there and adjust all your different lights. Whereas if you have it in a dark room where there's no natural light, you can just turn the lights on, film, and you're good to go. So yeah. Or you can just buy blackout curtains to cover the windows.
Yeah, or you could be somewhere like this.
Exactly, yeah. Just people watching at home, there's no windows anywhere in here. It's just a complete dark room.
Yeah. And everything's painted black as well, which makes the background look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice. When it comes to content creation, how do you recommend brokers get ideas and then how do they actually, write or create what they're going to put out there?
In terms of ideas, I would say one of the best ways to get ideas is obviously to copy other brokers what they're doing. It's to go through your emails and look at the questions you're answering every day, which is obviously, that's been said a lot, so that's nothing new. Another one is I like going online and looking at actual SEO blogs of big finance companies and keep it with the current news there. So if you can go on AFR, Mortgage Choice, Aussie, realestate.com, all those bigger companies that cover lots of finance and property news, they have like full-time like publishing teams that are like knocking out articles every single day. There's a really, really good source of information on there where you can sort of pick things through. That's basically it. That's how I get ideas for clients. So yeah.
There's also Broker Daily and The Advisor.
Yeah.
And same thing. They've got professional journalists there who are pumping out articles every single day. So you can just scroll through there and see something if you think it's interesting. I've spoken to a couple of brokers and they're a little bit unsure about what sort of content they should make because they don't want to make it super basic. They want to actually talk about something that they're interested in, but then they're worried that stuff that they're interested in, maybe people won't understand. Yeah. Like one broker who's a friend of mine was like, I'm not going to put out, this is what an offset account is. I don't know. What do you think about that? There's a bit of a fine line between putting out stuff that's interesting to them versus...
I think it's rapidly changing. I agree with him. You can't just put out what's an offset account anymore. I would say 3 years ago, you definitely maybe could have got away with it. But now there are so many brokers making content and a lot of them make the same mistake where they cover really surface level stuff. I think now you have to go way above that. So I would say in terms of how complex the video should be, obviously don't sit there with a whiteboard and a 5-minute explanation video covering the most in-depth topic in the world, but it does have to go above the surface level, right? So you can't just have really basic videos like what's LMI, what's a guarantor, what's an offset account, because people sort of know that now. They've seen it so many times. Now, of course, the younger generation coming up, they might not know it, but unless you're targeting first home buyers, why would you care anyway, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I think also, like, if you can put content out that reveals your personality or shows an opinion, I think Tom Hawley's great at that. Yeah. He's sort of revealing this kind of persona online that is quite opinionated, no BS, and calls things out. And I think that's really helping build his personal brand.
I agree.
When it comes to channels, there's so many different platforms to put content out on social media. Off the top of my head, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Yeah. How do you think about what brokers should be using? Where should they start? What's working well? Yeah. How does the content differ between the different platforms?
Yeah, that's a very good question. There's lots of answers to that question. The first thing is that you don't want to do, if you can't like comfortably post content on all those platforms, don't bother, right? You don't want to spread yourself thin, do it for 2 months and then quit, right? I would say if you can only like keep up with posting on 1 or 2 of those platforms, that's perfectly okay. Some people sit there and say, oh, you got to post on all the platforms, you got to do it, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's really hard. So what's the point? It's better to post consistent on 2 platforms, then post on all 5 platforms for a month and a half, and then you're like, no, this is too hard. I quit, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is that's very niche dependent on what you're targeting. So if you're targeting first home buyers, I wouldn't go on Facebook, filled with old people, right? I wouldn't, well, not old people, but
I know what you mean.
yeah. If you're targeting farmers, would you go on LinkedIn? Probably not. They're not really going to be using LinkedIn, right? So I would say the general best platform to use is definitely Instagram because it's filled with people that it covers like the most demographic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Instagram has the best like of everything, right? It's got good sort of demographic on there, good reach as well. So some platforms like YouTube, for example, you might get really bad reach. Even though it's got a good demographic, you might find it really hard to grow organically. But the main reason why I'd pick Instagram, for example, over TikTok is because of the ad services, right? So you can build an audience on TikTok, which is great, and it's obviously amazing, but it's very hard to go and retarget them with ads because TikTok's ad algorithm and ad platform isn't great. Whereas Meta ads is obviously amazing, right? So if you build the audience up on Instagram and Facebook, you can then go and retarget them. You can go and do a lot of different things with them. You can say, if someone's seen 15 seconds of my content, I can retarget them. Now they're much more interested in me, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with TikTok, you build the audience and then you sort of just only can rely on organic, right? Whereas if you build it on Instagram, you say, okay, well, once I get to a certain level, I can have organic and paid. Whereas TikTok, you're like, well, the max I can do is organic. Now, of course, that might change in the next few years. TikTok's ad platform might get a lot better, but for now, for service-based businesses, it's not amazing. Product businesses, definitely good, but yeah, services like mortgage brokers, not the best. So I would say, to answer the question, Instagram is probably the best overall, but if you're going to pick a niche, definitely. So if you're going to pick a certain platform, definitely tailor it to your niche. So if you're targeting white-collar workers, you know what, Instagram and LinkedIn would be great. Yeah.
100%. I posted on TikTok for the first time this week.
Yeah.
0 views.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. And like
literally zero?
Literally,
or
literally
no,
zero.
you got shadow banned probably.
Yeah, it must be banned. They must
Yeah.
be like picking it up financial services or something like that. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll look into that. Also, TikTok just feels so familiar because I never use TikTok myself. Whereas Instagram, I'm like, okay, I've got a rough idea of how this works.
Yeah. I think TikTok, the other thing as well, it's more of an algorithm-based platform. So Instagram, when you open the Instagram app, you land on your home feed where you see people that you follow, right? So you see all that sort of stuff. So when you log on to Instagram, you're like, if someone follows you, they're going to see your stuff repetitively, right? Or repeatedly. Whereas if you log on to TikTok, they might see you once on their algorithm. They might follow you. They might like your stuff, but they might show you a couple more times. If they don't keep interacting with your stuff, they won't see you again. So that like TikTok is way harder to actually build like a proper connection with the audience, unless they like genuinely keep interacting with your stuff. Whereas Instagram, they might follow you. They might like a few posts. They might sort of back off for about a month and they might come back again. It just keeps getting fed to them no matter what. So that's the other reason why Instagram is great in that aspect.
What do you think about paid marketing on LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn, I would say I'm not too across it, honestly, on LinkedIn. I don't really use LinkedIn for paid, only because there's so many platforms that offer their own version of paid marketing, right? There's Reddit now, there's TikTok, there's LinkedIn, there's Snapchat. There's all these different things. And I've tried all of them like a tiny bit. But what I've worked out is that they just don't have enough data yet. They've all just started coming up with their own paid sort of services in the last year and a half, 2 years. And they're just learning it themselves, to be honest. Like Instagram has been doing paid now for, God, I'm going to say 13 to 14 years. Yeah. They have so much data, so much data. So you can turn on ads and it does pretty well, right? Whereas Reddit, they have zero data. They've only been running it for like 12 months. LinkedIn, they've been doing paid on LinkedIn for what, 4 years now? 4.5 years, I think it is.
No idea.
So they don't have a ton of data on there, right? That's why I would say I don't really use it for brokers. Maybe it's something in the future I would look into, but for now, I haven't really touched it too much.
Okay, so a lot of mortgage brokers and business owners in general are torn between, do I hire an agency, do I outsource, or do I maybe employ someone, bring them in, keep it all in-house because then I'm going to collect maybe more IP and there's going to be more control. How do you think about whether a broker should do either or both? At what stage should they be thinking about doing different things? What sort of roles could you potentially bring in-house? What sort of roles should you be looking to outsource? How do you think about this question?
That's a very good question. So there's 4 ways I look at it. Number 1, you can do it all yourself. Number 2, you can hire someone internally. Number 3, you can get a marketing agency. And number 4, you can have yourself and a marketing agency. So like you try to use them for collaborating and ideas with, right? So I'd say the first one, number 1 is doing it yourself. That's absolutely amazing until you get to a certain point where you can no longer do it yourself. So I'd say if you're starting off, 100% do it yourself. Don't pay a marketing agency. Like spend your time and do it yourself. Then sort of number 2 and number 3 are battling each other. So do you hire someone internally in-house or do you hire a marketing agency? I would say that again depends on your budget. it's going to be way more expensive to hire internally because it's a full salary, right? So, for example, with a marketing agency, you'll get paid ads, landing pages, content, filming, all that done with, you can get it done for in between $3,000 to $5,000 a month, right? So that's what, $60,000 a year. You cannot get all that done with just one person internally, right? You probably have to pay them $80,000 a year. Plus they have sick days, all that sort of stuff. The other thing I speak about as well is that if you hire internally, you only get one perspective, which means that they can only see your marketing. With me, I work with like a lot of different brokers, so I know exactly what's working at what time. So I can see, okay, we spend 6 figures a month on ads, right? So I can see what's working well, what's working bad, when stuff's going down. So I can say, okay, this month investor ads didn't do as good as what they did last month, but first home buyer ads did really, really good. If you have one person working for you, they have no idea because they can't compare it against anything else. That's the other downside. The positive of that, of someone working in-house, is that maybe you can sort of speak to them more, you can be more controlling because they just work for you. So you can if they're working for you full time, you can really control what they're doing. With an agency, it's more like they sort of control it for you. They tell you what to do. So I'd say that's your options there. And then the fourth one is if you do it yourself and work with an agency. I have clients that do that. So they'll come to me and they'll say, look, here's what I want to do. Can you help me with this, this, and this? But I want to do this, this, and this myself. So they'll say, can you do the landing pages and setting up all of the tracking for me? But I want to write the copy, and they can also help me film the video, but I want to do the editing, for example. They'll come to me and say that. I think that's a great way to do it as well. I would say if you don't want to work with an agency, don't work with an agency. If you don't want to hire someone, don't hire someone. Just do whatever works for you and what you actually want to do. And at the end of the day, do what is going to make you consistent with your marketing and what's going to benefit you overall. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think you answered that really well. I mean, when you were talking about the danger of maybe having only one resource internally that's running all of your marketing.
Another point.
I mean, seriously, how do you know that they've got their finger on the pulse? How do you know they really know what's happening? How do you know they know what other successful mortgage brokers are doing if they're only exposed to one company?
Yeah, exactly right.
So I think that is really important. And then secondly, and this is actually something that Hormozy talks about as well. It's like you can copy success. And when you look at the really successful big companies, what is their approach? And I would say that nearly always you have an internal marketing team of people who are really bright and professional marketers. Yeah. But they outsource to agencies all the time. And that's why this whole ecosystem of massive advertising agencies exists who specialize in things like paid ads and branding and content creation for TV ads, etc. These corporates are choosing to operate like that. Yeah. I believe that mortgage brokers can operate like that, but obviously on a smaller scale. Yeah. So like that's what, at Broker Capital, that's what we're doing. It's like, okay, well, I'm sort of doing the marketing, I'm coming up with ideas, but we're also using an agency and we're using different groups of people who specialize in different things. And then you end up with experts.
100%. I think there's a pathway as well for brokers. So I think the pathway starts at you doing it yourself and it finishes at you having a big internal team. So I would say the end goal is to have an internal team, which is, again, weird for me to say that as a marketing guy. Yeah. I think the absolute end goal, you want to have all internal.
I don't know if I agree with that, but yeah, go on.
So I think it starts with someone like you doing it yourself and then eventually you collaborate with an agency and then the agency goes full time and that's like your longest path. You should stay with an agency for a few years. Then you're going to get to a point where you're really, really big. You want to do YouTube, you want to do long form content, you want to do videography, you want to maybe have a podcast, you want to do short form content, you want to do LinkedIn content. An agency, if you like, they can't do all of that to absolute quality, right? You're going to have to go to different agencies. Like, for example, we have lots of different things, but I don't offer YouTube, right? So if they wanted to do YouTube, they'd have to go somewhere else. I don't do LinkedIn ads, as I said before. If they want to do that, they have to go somewhere else. But if you can build a big in-house team that can handle all of that for multiple different brokers, that's where I think it works really well. The other thing is, if you come to me and you have 20 different brokers, that's going to be very expensive, right? But if you build one big internal team that can service all of them, it's much cheaper. So I think once you get to a stage where you have a crap load of brokers working for you and you want to be everywhere, you like even like bus ads, for example, or like billboards, stuff like that, that's when I think it makes sense to actually bring it in internally.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And it'd be great to be at that sort of scale.
Yeah. There's not many brokerages in Australia that would do that. I wouldn't recommend like to most people.
Yeah.
I would say you have like literally 15 plus brokers, YouTube channel thriving, podcast thriving, all that different sort of stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. And also owning a studio in your office as well. That's what I would say is another big thing. Like once you get to that level, bring it all in house. Like even the studio, buy the equipment, for example, the filming equipment. It's gonna be so much cheaper long term.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, you can see it with some startups. Like, if you follow Kinzo on social media, they've got a team of, I think, 3 full-time marketing people who are young people who are just constantly pumping out primarily social media and reels.
I think they're an outlier though.
They're an outlier.
It's very hard to do that for most people.
Yeah,
They're like very talented at what they do, and that works well for them. But I think a random finance broker couldn't have that same sort of pool, that same creativity.
Okay, well, Julian Fayed, Loan Options AI.
Yeah, I know Julian.
Yeah, I saw that he brought in, he's got some guy working for him for like a couple of months who's creating a lot of content and like sort of following him around.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get his social profiles to, I don't know, some certain level.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely having, like, if you could have an in-house person who's skilled with.
He's got someone from Kinzo as well, so there you go. Like,
that's right.
The talent pool over
those guys are doing it well. You know, and I really think that approach works. If you imagine like having somebody in your business who's really good at creating content, can edit, can push it out. And
it's so hard to find those people.
I know, and is like, while you're thinking about looking after the clients, they're creating stuff in the background, and then you step into a studio like this, and you can just create really high quality content. I reckon that is the way to go. That's pretty top.
And like I said to you before, I said comedy should be internal. Like Julian's is pretty internal. Like he has that guy working for him there now.
Yeah.
That's the end goal. Like that's where you should be going.
Yeah.
I think that's the smart way to do it because it's so much cheaper long term.
Yeah, I like that. What is the one marketing strategy, technique, or approach that really moves the needle for mortgage brokers?
I would say it starts with content. That's the easiest thing. Constantly improving the content as well. So it's one thing to post content for 6 months. It's another thing to post content for 6 months and constantly find things to improve on, right? So that's the first thing I would say that matters. If you can, as I said earlier in the podcast, if you can constantly find 3 things every single video, just find 3 things to improve. After 6 months, it's going to be incredible. You're going to have really nice quality. Like that's how I started, for example. If you saw my first video I ever did for a broker, like however many years ago it was, you'd be like, oh my gosh, how does that work? It was terrible, right? But you just keep improving. You're like, okay, the captions, I don't like where they're posted over here. Okay, now the color of the captions, I didn't like them. Now it's just like nitpick the smallest little things and do that. Start with the content, get consistent, then you can run the ads, retarget people that have seen the content, and it's literally, it sounds easier than it actually is, but on a 12-month period, if you do that, you're sorted. Have the content, retarget them with the ads. That's how simple it is. Yeah, at a super basic level.
So when is the right time for a broker to start thinking about marketing? Like, is it day one when they're first getting started, or do they need to hit a certain loan volume per month?
Day one, they need to do it themselves. So the second you open up your brokerage, if like as a brand new person, start straight away. But don't pay someone to do it when you first start because it doesn't make sense cash wise. Right? I wouldn't pay anyone to start. I'd say do as much of it do as much of it yourself as you can. Write the loans. Pay do your own marketing, do stuff like that. When you first start, okay. After a few months, probably look at hiring maybe an offshore assistant. Look at maybe consulting with a marketing agency. I wouldn't actually go and pay one just yet until you get sort of to the 1 year mark onwards. But I would say when you start a brokerage, you need to start thinking about marketing straight away. Straight away with the content. Don't run the ads when you first start. That's another dangerous thing. So if you've just started a business and you run ads and someone sees the ad and they go and see how long they've been doing this for, 6 months, they're going to be like, why would I go with someone that's been doing it for 6 months when I can go with someone that's been doing it for 10 years? They might not trust you, right? So I would say don't run the ads just yet. Save the money. Build the content up. Get to that 1 year, maybe 1.5 year mark. You've got a decent following now. You've got maybe some Google reviews. You look a bit more credible. Then you can go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to turn the ads on now. So I would say don't start with the ads straight away.
I know a lot of people on social media are nervous about putting themselves out there.
Yeah, I was one of them.
I'm also one of them.
Yeah.
Well, what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about, okay, I'm gonna crack in, I'm gonna put myself out there, I'm gonna reveal my personality, I'm gonna share some wisdom, but I'm just so nervous, and I'm worried that people who know me from when I was a kid or whatever are gonna judge me.
No, honestly, that is an amazing question, and the reason I liked it so much because I literally had that so badly. So people don't know this. I actually had MOBA internally for about a year. I did not want to put my face online. I did not want to go online. And then I was like, no one cares about me. Like, no one cares about you. You think you're important because you're yourself, right? If you, I don't know, think about the 6 people that you couldn't care less what they do, right? So I was like, you know what? No one's going to care what I do. The downsides of this in 10 years' time is, okay, I don't post content. Maybe my business doesn't grow. I'm like, what happens? What if I did do it? You get 10 years down the track and you do it and it works really well. The upside far outweighed the downside. So I would say, look, It sucks, and trust me, I know. Like, it is terrible for the first time you do it. After about 1 month, honestly, it goes away completely. You just stop caring. You're like, you know what? You know what the best way as well? After you get your first lead, you realize I don't care. If I'm making money off this, I don't care. That's happened to me as well. I got my first lead from YouTube. I remember when it happened, and I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm gonna keep posting online. I don't care anymore what people think about me. If I'm making money off this, I don't really care. So I'd say it sucks for a month. Get through that month, and then you start. It just becomes normal. You're just like, whatever. I just post on the video. It's fine. And if someone doesn't like it, well, who cares? Why do I care what they think? Are they going to pay for my mortgage or for my kids' food? Obviously, they're not going to. So why would I care what they think?
I completely agree. Yeah. As soon as you get that first person call you up and say, hey, I saw you on LinkedIn, or hey, I saw your ad, and hey, thanks for sharing this. That was awesome. You're just like, I'm making money, baby.
Exactly.
This was totally worth it.
Yeah.
I got to keep sharing my wisdom.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What are some of the biggest mistakes brokers make when it comes to spending money on marketing?
Yeah. I mean, I've said it a few times in this. I would say the biggest mistake by a mile a broker can make when they do marketing is running paid ads with no brand, no audience, no following. So if you turn on your paid ads and you've never posted a video before, or you don't have any content on your page and you think I'm going to make a bunch of money, never going to work. Like, you're just going to burn money to the absolute ground. Reason being is because, as I said before, if you have a page on social media with faceless images and no content, and someone clicks on your ad and they obviously not going to buy straight away, they're going to audit you first, as we said, and they go on your page and they say nothing, why are they going to buy from you? They're not going to care about you at all. But if they click on your page and they see a bunch of content, they see some educational stuff that relates to them. So if you're running a first home buyer ad, a first home buyer clicks on your page, because as I said before, they're not going to buy from you straight away. They're going to audit you first. If they click on your page and they see a bunch of other first home buyer content that like teaches them stuff, they're going to be like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to check out this guy some more. And they're not going to buy the first time they see your ad. Let's say they get to the 6th time they see the ad, like, okay, I'll check this out properly now. That's when it might work. So I'd say that, the biggest mistake you can make is running ads straight away with no brand behind you. And running it to a cold audience as well. Like, they don't know who you are. They're not going to buy from you. Run it to a warm audience. Not always though. Sometimes it's okay to run to a cold audience, but I can't explain it here. It's too complex. But yeah, you want to do both, but most of the time it's warm audience. Yeah.
Makes sense. How do you measure ROI for a broker? And what are some of the key metrics they should be looking at?
Yeah. I would say at the end of the day, obviously cost per booking is what really matters, right? But there's so many little variables that you look at, like click-through rate, CPM, cost per click, all that sort of stuff. That stuff matters. Of course it matters, right? That's when you're testing. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, it's cost per settlement and cost per booking. That's what really matters with paid ads. That's how you really know, okay, am I making money? Am I losing money? So I would say at a super basic level, that's what you need to look at. But there's lots of little metrics, like in Ads Manager, we don't use the custom, we don't use the default ad settings. We have a whole custom dashboard we build out in Ads Manager. And there's I think there's 32, I don't know the exact number. There's 32 different stats in there we look at to make sure if an ad's like winning or losing. So yeah, to answer the question directly, it's cost per booking, cost per settlement. That's how you really measure it. But obviously, if you're looking at it at a more holistic view, your business might grow net, right? So I have some people, they're called invisible conversions. I have clients where they'll get random calls and be like, I saw your content. I saw your ad. I want to give you a ring. Like, why didn't you book through the ad? And like, why do you want to book through the ad? I want to give you a call first. Yeah. So although you can see on your Ads Manager, okay, I didn't get a booking there. I didn't get a lead. You got a phone call that came from the ad. So sometimes that happens as well. So I'd say if your ads look like they're not performing as well, but your net business is growing from all the different other avenues, I'd say don't get too hard on yourself. Like, it's okay. Let's say your cost per booking was $100, for example, but you got 3 people calling you because they saw the ad. Although on the data on the actual dashboard it looks bad, in reality, the net business is growing. So I'd say don't be harsh on yourself when it comes to that sort of stuff. Unless, of course, your cost per booking is like, if your cost per booking is $600, then be harsh on yourself. That's terrible. So yeah. That's
absolutely spot on. I think that's why marketing will always be somewhere between an art and a science. You can never fully measure it. But being well known and having an impact is just so valuable.
Yeah.
What do you know now that you wish you knew when you first started working with brokers on their marketing?
Oh, okay. I would say one of the biggest things is not to listen to people online about random marketing things. That is when I was learning, like back in the day, that is one of the worst things I fell for. Like, I would watch a guy on YouTube or a guy on Instagram and they would say, oh, you know, the cost per click should be $1 or the click-through rate should be 6%. And I was looking at my ads, I was like, that's not, mine aren't doing that. Like, mine aren't that good. And I get so disheartened, like, that's not how it works. And then I realized that a roofer in America is gonna have completely different like KPIs to a finance broker in Australia. And I don't know, an ice cream parlor in Canada completely different KPIs to a finance broker in Australia. So I quickly realized I shouldn't be listening to these random guys online telling me what to do. And they would say, oh, don't do a booking funnel, do this funnel. Or they would say, don't post content about this, post it about this. And I was like taking all this random advice from people that don't understand my particular niche, the finance broker, Australia marketing. And I was listening to them and I would just like chase my tail, go in circles. Like, how does this work? I quickly realized not quickly. I slowly realized after about a year, like, why am I listening to these guys? It's a completely different marketing style. So about a year into my journey, I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop listening to these people. I like their ideas. I'm going to take parts of it, but I'm not going to like say, I need to follow this exact KPI. Because I realized that the cost per click in Australia for a finance broker is going to be way more expensive than the cost per click for a pair of Nike shoes in England, for example. It's going to be way more expensive, right? So I was like, I stopped following those sorts of things in that direct advice and sort of realized that I need to build my own stats. So now that I've done far out, I don't even know the exact number. It's a few million on ads in total. I know, okay, roughly what a cost per click should be. I know what a click-through rate should be for a broker because I've ran thousands of little individual ads. Now I know, okay, this is what the number should be looking like. So I would say don't follow random advice blindly online. That doesn't apply exactly to you. Find advice that really does tailor to exactly what you're trying to do. Don't fall for that. That's what I fell for when I first started.
That makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, you're comparing apples with oranges.
Exactly right.
And that's, not to plug you too much, but that's the beauty of working with a marketer who specializes in brokers because they're looking at all these different brokers and you can easily compare, okay, how's this working relative to other people?
Even the content I make, every example I give is always going to be a real example tailored to a broker. So I think that's where it's really valuable as well. I never give a fake example. I always give direct real numbers. So I'd say that's another thing. Find someone, like if you're an American broker watching this, maybe it's going to be different, right? So my content would be great for them. But for an Aussie broker, I'd say that's the way to go.
What's the best campaign or result you've gotten for a broker?
Ad?
Yeah.
I'd say we ran a campaign. This was probably mid last year when the first home buyer thing changed. There was that October 1st change.
Oh, yeah.
I ran a campaign and it lasted about 4 months. Just kept going. It just didn't fatigue. So normally when you run an ad, people that don't know, it does fatigue after about a month and a half, maybe 2 months. This one just ran for 4 months straight. It was like high 50s cost per booking. So imagine if you could run an ad for 4 months, $50 a pop, just keeps coming through. So that was probably the coolest one we ran because it just never fatigued. Good for me. I didn't have to make more ads for him, so that was a win for me as well as him. And in terms of actual content itself, I would say the fact that we can actively get like a few 100,000 views a month people through content ads, like it's pretty, like anyone can do it, right? If you spend $1,000, $1,200 a month on your content ads, you can easily reach 300,000 people, like no matter how good or bad it is. So that's pretty cool. We like doing that.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah. I mean, if you've got a compelling message and you want to build your brand, that's just like instant exposure.
Yeah, 100%.
What's some of the worst advice you've heard brokers get about marketing?
I wouldn't say this is the worst, but something that I think that's a misconception is posting as much content as possible, like posting like 4 times a day, as much as you can. I don't think that's true exactly. It can be true for some people, but for most people, if you're just posting just for the sake of posting, it's not going to end well for you, because the reason being is if you post 3 times a day and just rush out content just for the sake of posting and no one watches it, it's going to damage your algorithm, first of all. And number 2, if no one's watching it, you're not going to build an audience, right? If you post 3 times a day, what's that? Basically 90 posts a month and no one watches them. What's the point? No, you just posted 9 times for no reason.
Yeah.
But if you sort of take the time and say, okay, I'm not going to post 3 posts a day. I'm going to post 1 every second day, for example. I'm going to put lots of effort into it and make sure it's really good. Someone actually wants to watch it. Now, when you post it, someone's going to watch it. They're going to like the message. If they get applicable value from it, they're going to like you because you've just saved them money or given them a cool tip they can use. And then the algorithm also sees people actually watching your stuff, so it pushes it out further to more people. So I would much rather have 15 videos on 10,000 views, for example, than 90 videos on 100 views each, right? So I would say you don't need to post as much as possible, but if you can post every single day and it's quality every single time, 100% go for it. But it's very hard to do that if you're just doing the marketing yourself. It's hard to keep up and keep quality as well. The other bad pieces of advice I see brokers get is, I've said a million times now, just posting ads straight away, just turning on your ads and thinking you're going to get bookings. It's never going to work. You need to have that brand behind you first, because a million times I've said it. People are never going to see the ad and be like, bang, I'm going to buy from this guy. This guy's the one. I'm going to give this guy a 200K deposit, give all my finance information to him. Never going to happen. They're going to want to check your pet website out, check your Google reviews, check your Instagram page, whatever it might be. And if they see absolutely nothing and no credibility, you just wasted ad spend, right? So I'd say, yeah, that's probably one of the biggest mistakes, or worst piece of advice is I say, just turn on ads and you'll make money. If it was that easy, everyone would do it, right? So yeah.
Awesome. All right, Marcus, thank you so much for your time, mate.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, this was Marcus Vella from MOBA. He's a specialist marketer for mortgage brokers. Go check him out. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thanks, Simon.